We want to ask you a question today that honestly might change the way that you think about fear forever. Are you actually afraid of failure, or are you afraid of people watching you fail? Let's discuss and find out. Hey, lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Boltz. I'm an attorney and founder of Boltz Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Boltz, owner of Boltz Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the miss in biz.
Let's get biz done. Imagine you lived completely alone on an isolated island. No social media, no audience, no family expectations, no coworkers, and no competitors. And on that island, you tried something and failed. Would it devastate you the same way as if you had failed in your current life? Would you lose sleep? Would you feel embarrassed? Would you spiral emotionally? Or would it most likely just feel like, well, that didn't work? I think for many people, the pain isn't failure itself. It's humiliation, perception, the fear of looking foolish, the fear of disappointing people, the fear of becoming a story other people talk about. And honestly, I think many people are not living their lives. They're managing their image.
I love this week's episode. You know, we've talked previously about kind of the core elements we've learned from Unblinded, the Unblinded coaching program, and they talk about how fear of failure and fear of rejection are two of our biggest fears, and pretty much every decision that we make can be influenced by those two fears. And for me, when thinking about failing, like if you're a type A personality and you like to accomplish things and you're a real go-getter, I think failing is going to make you feel bad. I recently lost a battle to some plants and this big planter I had put together on Amazon. And boy, it really irritated me because I had it set in my mind, like I'm going to do this. And I did eventually figure it out. But had somebody else been there, or had, you know, people been involved in that process and seeing me struggle and break things, I busted a hole through my screen enclosure. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. There was dirt everywhere. But I would have been so much more embarrassed if somebody had actually seen, like if the animals outside could talk about what I was doing on my porch, I would be super embarrassed. So I think this is a great perspective shift on just the way that you interpret failure.
Well, sometimes it's easier to see it in your kids than it is to see in your own life. And as I was working on this episode, I was thinking about my daughter who's in 8th grade recently. She and her friend went to the 8th grade dance, and we were, you know, a little late, maybe 15 or 20 minutes late. And when they arrived, the whole 8th grade was already in position to take a group photo. And so as my daughter and her friend are walking towards the dance, they're all going, hurry up, come get with us in the picture so we can take a group photo. And when they got in the car, that was the first thing he told me. It was so embarrassing. Everybody was already there and they're all looking at us as we're, you know, and we're running and trying to get in line. And like, it was like mortifying that the whole 8th grade was watching them walk towards the group. And in my mind, I'm like, girls, like, is not that big a deal.
Yeah. But for them, it's different.
It was huge. Yeah. It was huge. They talked about it for the whole ride home, how mortified they were that they had to walk and then run in front of the whole 8th grade. And so, we can see it in teenagers because it's just so obvious. Their whole lives literally are consumed with what their peers think of them. Yeah. And my conversations with my daughters every day is, please, for the love of God, stop worrying about what these kids think of you. Who cares? You want to know what's going to happen to them? The popular ones? You want to know what happened to the popular boys that I went to school with?
Yeah.
They're still working at the surf shop. Mm-hmm. They're still doing the same things they did in high school. Yeah. So stop living your life to try to impress these kids. And it's just in one ear and out the other. But then what I don't look at is, how am I doing the same thing in my own life?
Right.
It's not the kids in school anymore, but it's maybe all the other people who are looking at me, both in person, both in business, both in professional or personal life, and online now. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I digress.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, even that fear of what people think can really influence us. And it's a great point. This is something that most of us have been dealing with since we were children, and it's still impacting us today. But the good news is there's still time to change, and awareness is key. Finding guests for a podcast can be difficult sometimes, so Brooke and I wanted to let you guys know that we are available to appear on your podcast.
We also enjoy speaking at events, so if you have an event coming up, these jingles can go on the road.
Simply go to missbiz.com/contact, and in the subject line, write podcast guest or event speaker, and we'll reach out to you to further coordinate. So, when your identity becomes tied to how other people perceive you, you stop making decisions based on that purpose, and you start making decisions based on optics. You don't ask, what do I actually want? You ask, what will people think? People do this a lot just to maintain a status they feel, and I'm sure you saw this a lot in the legal field where, you feel, or in the medical field where you feel like, you have to have a certain status or image in order for people to take you seriously sometimes, or to view you as successful. Yeah. If you're, a multi-7-figure law firm driving around in a Ford Buick that has dents on it, might not be the most safe option for representing your business or your identity.
Well, I can say this. Anytime you see me and I'm not wearing sweatpants, that's for other people. It's not for myself. Because if it was for myself, I would never take off sweatpants. Yes. Never.
Agreed.
I would always be comfortable. And so anytime I'm not wearing that, you can just know I'm catering to the masses and what they expect of me as an attorney and business professional. It's not for me.
Right. So the question, it quietly controls a shocking number of life when you start asking yourself, what will people think? People stay in careers because that they hate because of the image. They stay in relationships because of the image. They don't speak publicly because of the image. They don't pursue callings because of that image. Not because failure would kill them, but because public embarrassment feels emotionally unbearable. And social media has actually made this dramatically worse, because now failure isn't private anymore. Even things that you post for your business. I mean, I remember when we first started doing Miss Biz, there were people on YouTube that would get in there and say not so kind things about us. So there really is a level of vulnerability that exists today that wasn't even present years ago. And that's because failure isn't private anymore. Years ago, you could fail quietly, but now when people fail, they fail publicly in real time. Think about the scandal that happened with the multi-million-dollar guy who went to the Coldplay concert. And I mean, that was a failure, but that went viral. Absolutely viral.
Yeah, within like minutes.
Yes.
The whole world knew of his affair in minutes.
Yeah. So, businesses, when they close publicly. Relationships collapse, that's public as well. Opinions get attacked publicly, and mistakes get archived permanently.
So we live in a culture now where people don't just experience pain, they experience audience pain. And psychologically, humans are deeply wired to fear social rejection. Public embarrassment still triggers deep nervous system fear. That's why public speaking is the greatest fear, because they don't want to fail in front of people. Mm-hmm. So posting online can feel terrifying. Launching something new can feel terrifying. Speaking publicly can be scary. And it's not because of the actual task. It's because of the judgment that we imagine will come.
Right.
So one of the most interesting examples of this mindset shift recently came from an interview I watched of Hunter Biden. And he talked about his addiction. He called himself a crackhead. He admitted to being a crackhead for a period of his life. He talked about how humiliating it was that they pulled up publicly naked pictures of him with a crack pipe in his mouth with like prostitutes surrounding him. I mean, that was public. It was in the news. It's
crazy.
And then they got a hold of his laptop, and there was the whole laptop scandal issue. And you imagine the things that you hold on your private computer, and that everything you ever were ashamed of, now the whole world is seeing. And so every private message that he thought he was sending privately now is exposed to the media outlets of the world. And so he has this major, humiliation. I can't even imagine a greater humiliation than what Hunter Biden went through. But what stood out to me was that once someone has experienced that extreme public humiliation, fear starts to lose its power.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And because what he kept saying is that I have no fear anymore.
Yeah.
It's all out there. Like, everybody knows the horrible things. I don't think
you can top that.
Yeah. Everything that I've ever done, everybody knows. And so now I can live freely because I don't have to worry about what they're going to think or whatever now, because it's already known.
That's a great point. So, when stuff like that happens, that doesn't mean that the experience, I'm sure for him, it doesn't mean that the experience wasn't painful, but that freedom can happen when the thing you feared most finally happens and you survive it. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I experienced a measure of this myself with my cancer journey, because as a woman, your physical appearance is an important part of your identity. And when my forehead and eyebrow and head area was just a hot mess, I just got to the place where I stopped caring about my appearance, because it's like, I'm not going to look good anyways. I got a tube attached to my head, or I've got a huge skin graft covering half of my head, and it's just like, whatever, And so I stopped buying a lot of clothing. I did not care about how I looked. And went into, I just want to be in sweatpants all the time. And there's a comfort level there, like just being comfortable wearing that, but also I just didn't care anymore. You could even look back at our episodes. If you look back at our early Miss Biz episodes, you can see that I'm wearing nice clothing every single episode. Mm-hmm. And then you look at what happened when I started with the cancer journey, and now most of the time I'm wearing like a t-shirt. Like I just don't care anymore. And so that was some, I experienced a measure of this, in that when the worst thing happens, now you don't have to fear it.
Yeah.
And not to say that my experience was the worst thing, because there's a lot worse things that happen to a lot of people. But for me, it was definitely traumatic.
Yeah.
Do you love the Miss Biz podcast?
Because we love you.
Here's 3 things you can do to show your support.
1, write us a review. Apple, Spotify, and Google My Business are the best platforms to write a review.
2, follow us on social media. Our handle is @MissBizPodcast.
3, join our Facebook group, Miss Biz Nation, for exclusive content and behind-the-scenes footage. Also, ask questions related to your business and discuss topics from our episodes. And, for some of the boldest business owners, they're not people who never failed. They're people who have already failed publicly and realized it didn't destroy them. Whether that was their business collapsing, the launch flopped, people talked, people had bad things to say about them. Eventually life kept moving, and that realization really does change people. In fact, when you look at the most successful people, like, they have failed. They have failed numerous times, but they just didn't give up because they knew that this was something that they needed to continue to work on. And I think that will earn a lot of respect in people's eyes too, kind of like a rags to riches type of story, where they were able to see that you struggled doing something and failed, but now like you have a beautiful life, or now that vision is a reality and it's beyond anything that they ever expected. So just really being able to have that determination to continue to move forward is huge. But, it's very hard to get to that place where, the fear doesn't bother you anymore. We kind of imagine this humiliation that is actually far worse than reality. We think, if this fails, my life is over. But what usually happens is people move on fairly quickly. Most people are too consumed with their own lives to think about your failures nearly as much as you imagine. And I'm highly convinced, for the majority of people today, you're going to be harder on yourself than anybody else will be on you. So that's something to keep in mind of, is people aren't watching your life the way that you're watching your life. The way that you're watching your life is the way that they're watching their life. And that's one of the biggest psychological illusions we live under. We think everybody is watching us constantly, but most people are thinking about themselves. And honestly, some of the people judging you publicly today will privately respect you tomorrow for having the courage that they never did. Because deep down, people admire action. So if we go back to the 8th grade dance example, and we think about what my daughter and her friend in their mind thought that everybody was thinking. Like, they thought they were thinking, oh, these girls are late. Look at them. Look at their dress. Look at their shoes. They look so silly. But in reality, what were the 8th graders really thinking? Like, just hurry up so we can take a picture. Yeah. Come on, I want to eat, or I want to go dance with
nobody
so-and-so.
was analyzing what they looked like. Nobody was like, it was, and then as soon as it was over, the rest of that group of 8th graders never thought about it again. Mm-hmm. Nobody thought about it again. They couldn't have cared that they showed up 15 minutes late.
Right.
But in their minds, the girls' minds, it was this big ordeal. And so it's just an example of how our belief of what people are thinking is not true.
Yes.
We conjure up in our mind that we're going to be humiliated because they're going to think all these things. And in reality, they're not thinking those things. Yeah. And so we can't let it keep us back from doing things that we feel led or called to do because we think somebody else is going to think something. Yeah. Most of the time, that's just not even true. They're never going to think that. We just think they are.
Yeah. It's a very, very unstable way of living, because image itself is unstable. One viral moment can build it. The other viral moment can damage it. There was a guy he's on TikTok. I forget his name, James something. He's an influencer, and he made one video about a Spirit airline employee who reached out to him for money, and he kind of dogged her for reaching out to him for money. And the reaction, I mean, he is currently the most unfollowed person on TikTok. It's huge because this girl lost everything and he's got a ton of money, but I can see his perspective too. He's she's not even following me, she's not a fan, or I don't even know this person. And when you have money, people are always asking you for money. And he made one video of it and then became the most unfollowed person on TikTok. It's pretty crazy.
That is a really good example that your popularity can be gone in a moment. Mm-hmm. It can come in a moment. You can do one thing that gets you huge notoriety, but then it can be gone the next day. Mm-hmm. So that's why emotionally healthy people build their identity deeper than public perception, because otherwise your peace becomes dependent on applause, and applause is inconsistent. And so this is one reason why faith matters so much, is because when identity comes from God instead of public approval, people become harder to control through shame. So many people are living trapped by imaginary conversations that haven't even happened yet. Mm-hmm. What if they laugh at me? What if people think I'm stupid? What if I fail publicly? What if I look embarrassing? But what if the real tragedy isn't failing publicly? It's never fully living because you were trying to protect your image. Some of the most fulfilled people I know are not the people with perfect reputations. They're the people who stopped worshiping public opinion. I gotta believe that Hunter Biden is living a much more fulfilled life now that all of his indiscretions are exposed than he was when he was hiding them.
Absolutely. And, honestly, I think this is one of the reasons children often move more boldly than adults. Kids will dance boldly, they'll sing badly, they'll try things, they'll fall down, they'll look silly, they'll experiment freely. But then adults, we become image managers. We stop playing, we stop taking risks, we stop trying. And it's not because we lost the ability, but we are hyper aware of judgment. So what we're going to do is we're going to provide you with some takeaways. So first, ask yourself, and honestly, am I avoiding this because I fear failure or because I feel embarrassed? Because those are two different problems. Fear teaches, embarrassment attacks. So, second is start intentionally doing small things that risk discomfort. So if you're afraid to post a video, post it anyways. Mm-hmm. In the meeting where you otherwise would be quiet, speak up. Launch even if it's not perfect. Try the new thing, because confidence is built through exposure to discomfort, not avoidance of it. So you have to, my sister one time said she wanted to do something every day that made her, that she was scared of. And so she did that for a year. Every day she did something that she was afraid of. Like that.
Yeah. And that's challenging. That's growth though, is to say, I know this is scary and I'm going to do it anyways.
Absolutely.
Have you ever heard there's a saying, do it scared?
No, I haven't heard that. I like that though. So third is to stop treating public perception like permanent reality. People do forget, and I think that we forget to be reminded of that. News cycles move, algorithms move, life moves. Your embarrassing moment probably feels much bigger to you than everybody else.
And fourth is build an identity deeper than achievement or image. Because if your worth depends on public approval, fear will always control you.
Yeah. So realize that courage often comes after humiliation, not before it. Many fearless people are not fearless because life was easy. They're fearless because they've already survived what they thought would destroy them in the first place. And once you survive that, you realize something powerful. You can live through far more than your fear tells you.
We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltzlegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltzmedia.com. Let's get biz done.